Hi class, today we'll be looking at the assignment 1, which is the balloons. We'll be looking at two different images and we'll be getting into making a composite image out of the two different files. I have opened up Photoshop and opened up the O1A balloon main JPEG file. This will be part of your finished product. Before we ever get started, I'll go over a few things. I always make sure that I have my tool palette open here on the left, layers palette over here open on the right, and I will then proceed to open up my second document, which is file open. I'll pick up the sky balloon here, and these are both JPEG files. What I'll do now is I'll look at the actual, take a second and look at the actual files themselves to make sure I'm on the right track. I'll go to image, size, and I'll be able to tell here that this image is 1024 by 768 wide and it's 72 dpi. This project is meant for screen, so make sure that your resolution is 72 dpi. We'll just say okay to that. I'll pop over to here and make sure I'm in the right spot. I also always make sure I put my rulers on. This image here says it's only 3 inches wide, which is about a third of the other size. But if I look closely and go to the image size, I can then see that this is a 300 dpi. This is a high-res doc, so we need to change this. So what I'd like to come in and do is make this 72 dpi and uncheck resample image, which then it's about the right physical size here. So they're both 72 dpi now, and I'll just say okay to that, and then I have my two images ready to go. So the first part of the process here is to allow Photoshop to have the most editability, so I can change this JPEG format here into a Photoshop doc. So I want to do Command Shift S, or I'm on a PC, so I'll do Control Shift S. You can do File, Save As, and we want to save this just as a PSD file right here. All right, and I'll say okay to that. I'll also make sure I go over to my layers palette and notice how the word background here is italicized and it's locked. I want to double click this. I'll just give it a quick layer name, good habit to be in. And now I have full editable capabilities in Photoshop. So we'll start off by zooming in a little bit, and I want to take out some of these pieces here. I'll hit Control minus to get, I went in a little bit too far. And I want to take my rubber stamp tool, or the clone stamp tool as it's more properly called. I will hold down the Alt key or the Option key and basically pick up some pixel data, and like this, and then I'll go back in and I'll be able to cover up this area here. Now if you notice, I'm starting to make a little bit of marks here where I was at. When you guys click on the tool here, don't forget that you can control the tool up here by how far it fades, how the physical size of it, and spend some time and get this right. This may take a few shots to get correct, but I want to take these small balloons out and make this a more just a more fine piece to look at. Part of this is technology, part of this is using your eye for what looks correct. So I'll go hold down my Option key again, and I'll just take that out. That one looks a lot clearer. I'll kind of continue to go through this in my entire document. Then I'll zoom out. I can hit Control 1 or Command 1 to go back to full size, or I can hit Command minus, or even use the zoom tool over here in the over here. So learn some keyboard shortcuts, learn how to kind of bop around, take your time and get acquainted with Photoshop and the stuff you'll be doing all the time. So let's say for time's sake, we've taken out all these balloons, and what I want to do is make a more picturesque type of landscape, and I'll go into this area here. I'll say I want to add a few more balloons for pizzazz, and I'll select these balloons and I'll use my lasso tool. I will go in and I will lasso around this area here. I'll actually get the guy in the basket here, make it for a little dynamic human action here. This is a horrible selection set. You will take a little bit more time to get that. And if I take this over here, make sure that I'm on the select tool now. So if you notice, I have the little scissors here that are popping up. Hopefully you can see that better. So it's Control C or Command C to copy, and then Command V to paste, and I now have a new layer. You can turn your layers off and on, and I will then take this layer here, select it, and then copy this over to my other document. If I can get it up here, it's taking a few minutes. And then paste this on a new layer, which would be then Command V. And I now have a new layer here. So what it is this picture here is beginning to look like a composite, so I can go back in with my eraser tool and get this a little bit closer. My eraser is way too huge, so I'm going to undo that with Control Z. And I'm going to click on my eraser tool again and change this from the last time I had set this up. Change it down to about 25 pixels. That looks about right. If you ever want to, you can change your units here, which is currently set to be inches. I put my rulers on. I can click up in here, right click or control click on a Mac and set this to be pixels. So I now have a rough idea if I set this to 30 pixels about how big any of the tools would be. So I'm going to go back in here and change this to get this a little bit closer. This will help you really start to get a feel for the handwork that is sometimes necessary in Photoshop. And I will make this look really pretty horrible, but I think you'll get the point. All right, we'll go back in here and do this. All right, and now I'm looking again, both technically and artistically, what would look good for this particular picture. I think this might be nice. Some of you may say I want really to change some great scale in here. I can click on the actual image itself, make sure that the layer I'm working at is the active layer, which is the highlighted layer here. You can do this by having auto select on, or you can actually physically go over and make sure that you're on the right and active layer. I want to do image, edit, transform, scale, and I'm actually going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to hold down the shift key to get constrained proportions, make this look pretty big up here, and go for a crazy dynamic image there. So I would do this multiple times, get a few balloons. The composition is up to your discretion. Looking for something, maybe it's subtle, maybe it's dynamic. Again, the artistic part is on you, and don't forget to share this with your friends, see what they and peers see what they think. One thing I'd like to fix in here too is I want to remove this lettering. It's visually distracting. As I view the image in its entirety, I can easily just immediately my eye goes to what these letters are, and they have nothing to do with anything. It doesn't say anything cool or important to the photograph. So we would zoom in here. I'll hit Z for the zoom tool, click and drag. That's another way to use the zoom tool, and I will then focus in on here. I'll go back into my rubber stamp tool or clone stamp tool. I think this is going to be way too big. I'll drop the size down to try it here. Alt or Option to pick up some pixel data, and then kind of go back here. And I may have to do, that's too small actually. Control Z, pick up a little bit bigger. And let me see what I got here. And we're looking for, whoops, just to kind of take this out. Notice how I'm paying attention to where I'm picking up data. I actually accidentally picked up part of the other balloon here, which is not great, but I think you get the point. Back to Control 1, and I can see that I'm well on my way. Something that looks viable, something that looks real, something that has some visual points of interest. So the composition is up to you, and these are the key tools. And have at it, and don't forget to put your files up on the discussion board.